On today's beautiful and sunny and majestic day, it's a beautiful and sunny Sunday, by the way, if anybody is wondering, I got to meet up with a wonderful friend of mine, Jonathan. I'll call him Trusty because his band name is Trusty Sea Creatures. Yes, I know. It's one of the most epic band names ever, and he has it, so you can't have it. But what you can do is go on his website and see his music because it's pretty magical. Now, I got to meet up with him today and just sit down in his living room. His wife and his baby went out for a walk, enjoy the sunshine, and him and I got to spend some intimate time together. We didn't get naked. We don't have to have that sort of intimate time. We just sat there and opened up our minds and our hearts, and we chatted about just music and the history of music, how he became a musician, things that he kind of went through in the beginning, and how he thought about music when he was younger. I'm not going to give it away, but I felt the same way, and I still kind of feel the same way. So we got a chance to talk about it, and he got to talk about a few things about his upcoming podcast, whenever that's going to happen. He said probably after April, maybe May. It's also going to be surrounded by music. So I hope you guys stick around and listen up to everything we're talking about. It gets pretty funny. I got to say that because it's true, and I don't lie. I do not do that. So we, again, just jump on in there. So put your hands together in your mind and perk up your ears physically. And here it goes. All right, it's rolling. But I swear, I really don't care about anything about this podcast in the sense of quality-wise.
Yeah.
Because the last podcast, the very beginning of the just the dozen episodes I had last time, I would sit there and I would edit for days, weeks, each episode.
Just like trying to get like the EQ and everything, or
the EQ, the clipping, the noise, background. I'd go in and individually just like edit out like seconds where it's like there's too much of a gap between conversation. I was like,
right,
I can't have that.
Gotta get that space out of there.
And the podcasts were like 4 hours long, 3-4 hours long, the old ones.
Wow.
So I'm just sitting there, just I have to do this. And I just felt like a freaking animal doing it. So now I'm just like, content is all it is. If I even told some of my friends who are doing their own podcast, I was like, because they got some bad reviews, their quality sucks, and I was like, if you want to have a say in the quality, pay me money, so then I'm actually
like help me get better gear then.
Yeah, help me get
what
better
I can work with right now.
Yeah,
it's funny. Like every time I go and I'll look into a podcast and be like, oh, this looks interesting, and then I'll look at the length of it, and anytime I see something that's like hour and a half or plus, I'm just like, I don't have the time for that right now. So when I see something that's like 4 hours long, it's like, or like a live stream of like 4 hours long, I'm just like, I can't do it.
It's a huge commitment. That's why when I first started, I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast for forever, because I mean it's like 3 hours, 2.5, 3, 4 hours podcast all the time, and he'd have these fascinating guests on there, and they just go into like the depths of realities, basically, from business to MMA to just, I mean, he had a few spirituality ones that are just incredible, and he'd talk about like MDMA experiences and mushroom experiences, just like hallucinogenic stuff, and you could just sit there and just lose yourself, right? And at that time, I was working just at the business, but so I'm sitting there, I'm programming stuff on the computer, or I'm running the CNC router. I'm just like there, so it's like 4 hours of podcast, nothing. It's like, oh, that's done. Oh, next episode. Yeah. Oh, that's done. Oh, so it was just it would be perfect for me. And same thing with my friend when we started doing the podcast earlier. He was working. He still is. Machine shop. So he's doing the same thing. He's sitting there pressing the button for the CNC routers and just walk around the shop basically.
Yeah.
So short podcasts just get done too fast, and there's not enough depth. So he's sitting there listening to 3-4 hour podcasts too. So then when we got together, we were just like, all right, let's do this. He had his long ones, I had my long ones, and boy, but I was exhausted.
Yeah.
Can you? I mean, imagine just sitting in one place for 4 hours, just talking about like the depths of your soul. I mean, it was a therapy session.
That'll take it out of you after a while.
As soon as the podcast was over, I'd literally just kick them out. I'd be like, all right, fuck off, basically. It was like, leave.
I can't look at you anymore.
Like, I know too much about you. I love you, but you have to go because I need to take a nap.
Yeah.
Oh, so now these ones are just like, Hey, you're free. All right, cool. Let's just sit down and bullshit for a while. And
Yeah,
then,
for sure.
And just release that, and I hope people enjoy that, which they will. So I wanted to ask you, obviously, about your music and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
First thing, so was it today or yesterday? You uploaded your like the 5 years ago thing and all your list of names.
Yesterday, yeah. So yesterday,
that's so funny.
Yeah, because I've been just thinking about like naming things. Naming things has never been my strong suit. So like every time I write a song, and I go to like look for a name for it, I just literally like have to just scan through the lyric sheet and just be like, what stands out, or what seems like a coherent enough name that it could fit the song, or even like sometimes against that completely, like what's a random enough line that having the song named that is kind of like, I'll be okay with that, even though it makes no sense like contextually with the song or anything like that. It's just like this one little line, so now that's the name of it. And so I'm trying to put together a new kind of basically a new podcast, which is going to be me, my friend Josh, and then we're going to have other people come into a buddy of mine that I worked with, RJ, and then we'll have some other guests here and there when we can. But the idea behind the show is going to be basically somebody picks an album from like their youth or something that just like has a lot of nostalgia for you, and everybody's going to listen to it. And as far as like for the person that has the nostalgia, it's going to be, does this album hold up, or is it better than I remember it being? And then it might be a completely fresh listen for the other two. And then we're going to come together. We're going to take our notes separately and then come together and kind of just like discuss the album and see like basically do a review show about it.
That's so cool.
And it's like I already have a few albums picked out from when I was like 11, 12 that I listened to like all the time. And so I'm excited to see like other people's takes on them, and really honestly see if like when I still listen to this today based off of all the things that have changed in my life, and like, because I feel like there were some of them that I got rid of because it was just like I don't know, when you become a teenager you go through that like I'm too cool to insert whatever, and a lot of it was like I need to listen to cool person music, so I'm gonna listen to these things instead of this stuff.
Put it aside. That sounds fascinating though. Like the whole premise of that, it's amazing because you're doing the same thing. You're basically taking where you were decades ago and say, let's see, what was my mentality back then? What made me like this?
Yeah.
And how did I change over the time in order for me to maybe appreciate it more? Maybe it's like more hidden things in the lyrics, because I've even go back to like a song that I haven't heard maybe like 3-4 years, and I'd be like, oh sweet, excited.
Yeah.
And then I'd listen to the lyrics and I'm just like, holy crap, this pertains, like it's so much deeper than I was listening to.
This is way better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'll have like, as a little kid listening to music, I had such a weird disconnect. Like when I would listen to bands like Pink Floyd or like Portishead, there was such this weird thing of like, people aren't making that. It's coming from like these weird like ethereal beings who are creating these sounds. Like people don't know how to make these sounds. And so becoming a musician and realizing like, no, it's just a guy with a plank of wood, some strings, and then like whatever like pedal board he's got in front of him. You can create whatever you want, and you can make those noises. And like the realization of that, and like it didn't necessarily take away any of like the mysticism of the sounds they were able to create, but like it definitely was such a fun realization for me, I want to say, because it was like, oh, I can do that. I just I need the right tools, but then I can create whatever I want with that. And I don't, it's just really funny to me to think back of like kind of, and I say little kid, but like preteen me, like being afraid of some of the noises because like what made that noise? I don't know. So yeah, it's just really funny to me. I think I'm gonna look into some of those albums as well and go back and re-listen to a lot of that stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that I haven't listened to in years that I wonder, like, listening to it now, being like, oh, I know what he's doing. I know how he's making that sound.
And you can appreciate it on a whole different level.
Yeah.
Because right now, the way you're explaining it, because I can see it in my head right now. I could see this, like, godhead, just, like, dark freaking face and just, like, just making sound. And I was like, yeah. Because I remember feeling the same way when I was younger, too. It's like, what is this? And you'd also put the, like, the artist as, like, being, superhuman. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know how they're doing it. You don't know how to approach that. So it's like for me, this realization was way more recent than you, because you said you were like your preteens kind of.
Well, that's when I was listening to that music, and then it was probably, I don't even know. Like I started playing guitar when I was 14.
So was it the guitar that got you there?
It kind of, because I just picked up an acoustic guitar and just kind of like started going for it, and even at that point, like I still didn't quite get the concept of like, oh, pedal boards, and so it's probably been within like the last few years, like I would say maybe the last 7-8 years that I realized like how much equipment is out there to make these sounds available to you. And it sounds ridiculous to say that like 20 something Jonathan is still like, it's so terrifying. Like I got past that aspect of it, but like the actual understanding of how the noises were being made is more of like a recent thing for me. And also just like the idea of using things not necessarily for like their unintended purposes, but taking something that you would never think to use in like a band setting, and then using it and making just like crazy noises with it. Like there's a song by a band called Elbow, and the song is called Coming Second, and like right at the end of the song, they're kind of just like, they're just playing themselves out, and they add this like chorus of just like noise, and it's like a humming, like buzzing noise. And I remember the first time I heard it, it was just one of those things where you just like, your whole body just gets like chills, and you're like, how are they making that sound? And then I want to say it was like within the last year, because that album came out in, I want to say about 2001 is when that album came out. And within like the last year or so, I realized like, oh, because on their album after that one, they were like using, in the last song of that album, they have this like kind of like chorus of people like just vocalizing, and then intermixed with that, they have like a couple people playing the kazoo. And then it kind of like clicked in my head, and I went back and listened to that other song. I was like, wait, I think they're all playing the kazoo, and that's what this vocalization is, and that's why it sounds like a weird humming buzz sound. It's like, that's amazing!
That is incredible.
I never would have thought of using something like the kazoo, which still in my head is something you go and just like pick up for 18 cents. And you can actually use it as an instrument because it connects to your vocals, and your vocals are another instrument layer in whatever you're doing. And so yeah, it just kind of like blew me away when I was like, oh man, I want a kazoo now. I want to see what I can do with that.
You should incorporate the tea kettle. Right, it's gonna whistle. Ooh, you can harmonize with it. That'd be pretty awesome. I remember I bought the djembe just not too long ago, and then the lady selling it, because it was a small little djembe, and she wanted like $70 for it. I was like, I just really wanted the djembe, and with it, she included like some conga drums, and then like the train whistle that I brought over here, just a whole bunch of all these things. And I'm looking at this like, yeah, I'm gonna do something with this. It's like, all right. So I started recording, and this is the first time like I tried layering things. It was cool, but I felt like I just didn't know how to edit the audio properly in order to make room for all of those layers. Because I felt like, I would do, guitar and then vocals, right? And then I'd have guitar going, and then I'd cut there would be no vocals, and then I'd add like harmonica for that part. So I still have 2 layers. And then I'd move along past that, and then I'd leave the harmonica, and then I'd have maybe like drums, interesting drum beat with like the guitar. But for some reason, for me, I was like, I don't like this. I'd rather do as simple as possible, just like bread and butter, basically, guitar vocals, so I don't have to mess with it. But point being is like I was sitting there, playing with like a kazoo and then the ocarina, right? My favorite moment was I was doing a simple song too, just like a couple of chords on the guitar and then some decent vocals, and then at the end I just added just 4-5 seconds of the ocarina, and I went back to listen to it and I was like, holy shit, that is amazing. I should really learn to play that thing like for real, because man, it's got like an ethereal sound on its own. It's very different. So maybe one day. Not soon. Not soon. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. So what made you? So you were like you said you were about 13, 14 or something when you picked up the guitar. Well, what led you into that? Like what made you pick up the guitar besides music being such an ethereal thing and you wanted to feel like a god? I'm assuming.
Right. At that point, I was super into. I was just listening to just like a ton of Dave Matthews, and I had seen at that point we'd gone to see him live actually like a few years before, and there were like live DVDs and CDs and stuff. So like I would just kind of like pop those in like almost every day, and I would just like watch what he was doing, and it was like just like the way that he plays guitar is still like to this day like intriguing to me. Even though I don't really like listen to his stuff anymore, but he's constantly gonna have like that the word I'm looking for
appeal. Yeah, I guess like I really like the way he plays guitar, and it's just really interesting to me. And there's always there's going to be like a little bit of a mystique to it, I guess. Just because like I've tried doing it, and like I can play some of his songs and stuff, and then there are other songs from just like my brain and my hands just won't do it, and like I don't know how he manages to get his hands to do this. It just doesn't make any sense. Okay.
But like at that point I was just like, man, I want to try to do that. And so my mom had this like just super like busted ass classical guitar that was like missing strings, and I just went and picked it up and like got it out of her closet and was like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. And so I kind of told her, I was like, yeah, I want to get into playing guitar, and she's like, okay, cool. And so we went and got like some new strings, put new strings on it, and then I kind of just started plunking around on it, and literally so you've been, every time I hear like you talk about how long you've been playing guitar, by the time like you went and did your first show, and like literally the first 6 months that I was playing guitar and teaching myself how to play guitar, all I did was play this like the top string, and I just did like bass notes on that, and that was all I did for like 6 months. And then it was like, maybe I should try to learn chords, and like started teaching myself chords. So it's really funny to me, like I feel like I could have learned it faster than I did, but at the same time, like I'm glad I took my time with it and just kind of like plunked around and practiced.
Yeah, everything has its own time. Like, I feel like the only reason I was able to pick up the guitar so fast is because like in my head, I already had a good grasp of art, right? And if you can understand art, it doesn't change just because it changed mediums. Like just because music and painting are separate in the normal sense, like I see the patterns that both have, and then once you got one, you got the other. It's all about the physical movement. So it's like, it might sound crazy, but again, it's like I'm sitting there and I already understand how to learn. I know how to learn efficiently, and then I knew what I was trying to learn. Not necessarily like music or notes or anything like that. Just I knew that there was something here that's underlying pattern, and I just need to get into that. And then once I get into that, then things will just be unlocked. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it was. It's like first I just started playing music, just songs. So then I could feel what music was, and I said, okay, so here's that. And then quickly, there's a pattern here, And then after that, because it only took me like 3-4 months to start writing my own songs. And I started writing my own songs. Not saying that I'm the best songwriter. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? But that's another thing. Like I'm still. We're all trying to get better, but I still have that fascination with like successful artists, or just artists that just like move me right now, and I still have that separation of, I'm just this guy who's playing around, an instrument, and then there's these guys who are just freaking gods, and they make like music.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you feel that way ever?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like every time I feel good about something that I've done musically, I was like, yeah, but I'm garbage compared to, and then it's like insert somebody, and like I need to get over that in a way, because not to say again, like not to be like I'm the shit, but at the same time, like sometimes you just actually need to look at yourself and be like, you know what, you are the shit, because you're doing this, and you weren't before. What would you be doing instead? Like you could just be sitting around and
doing nothing, watch
TV, play video games. Which, I mean, that has its place.
It has its place indeed, but
like, I remember at the same time, like you are actively creating something. That's not nothing. That's cool.
It's pretty neat. Pretty neat. I wonder if people see us the same way that we see like the other artists, right?
So I wonder about that as well. And honestly, one of the nicest things I've ever had somebody say to me, and it didn't like do like a full ego boost or anything like that, but I was at this party, and my friend introduced me to his girlfriend, and she was talking to me about like, oh yeah, I've seen you play and stuff like that, and she was saying like when she's like writing and kind of like coming up with ideas for music and stuff, like she's said, and I maybe it's me interpreting it in like a like way nicer way than she really meant it, but basically what she was saying is just like she examines the song and is like, is that, how would he do this song, and am I going too close to what he's doing, or is it like, and someone's like, that's really nice that like you really use me as like your bar of like that's cool. And so I mean, I chose to interpret it as like being used as like bar.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
But it's like that's like one of the nicest things anybody said to me about like me being a musician, and like that's really cool.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's like I'll get compliments, and I mean the compliments are great, and it's not like they're it's not like I'm not connecting with the compliment, but it's like maybe it's still just myself that I'm so maybe new to it, or just it's so easy to be self-critical to a point where you're just like, but it's like I'll listen to other people's music, and it will just seem so poetic and so beautiful. I mean, take Gregory Alan Isaac for an example, and he's just sitting there, and it feels like when you're listening, obviously, it just feels like he wasn't even trying.
Yeah.
And then it just comes out so beautiful, and the imagery is just, I mean, you close your eyes and you're in just like a moonlit room, and then you're talking to the moon, and then you're just like, wow, this is a masterpiece. And then maybe it's because you actually wrote your own stuff, that like what you had in mind, and that you were messing around with it, and you're just like trying to make it sound good, that when you do play it or hear it or just like look at it objectively, you're like, it's not that good.
Yeah. So I'm curious, for me, I obviously as a musician you always strive to be better,
of course.
So for me, I know when I look at or like listen to like my own stuff from like a year, 2 years ago, I have to convince myself not to hate it. Which sounds terrible, but like I honestly feel like there are times where I will know I was being lazier than I really should have been on like certain songs, and I feel like those are songs that I never end up playing
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, just because like I either relied on way too many layers when I was recording it, and so I put like too much instrumentation into it,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm just like, well, now it needs to just be that, and it won't stand alone on its just me and a guitar. But there are just like times where I'll listen to it and I'll just hear a lyric or just like a chord progression or something, and I'll just be like, man, that was not good. I don't know why I liked that at the time. But then just like the stuff that I've done more recently, I'm just like, yeah, I can still get behind this stuff.
Yeah.
And I always like, crap, am I gonna hate this stuff later though? Because I don't want to. I actually really like the stuff that I've done within the last year or so. I actually really like all of that material that I've written, and I don't know, I feel like I need to kind of disconnect myself from some of it and not overthink it, which is very hard for me, unfortunately. But there are songs where I've tried to sit down and write a song, and sometimes forcing a song out works out okay. Sometimes it just does not work out okay, and it's like, I would change that lyric, I would take this part out, I'm going to shorten this down, and then and then I never actually go back and re-record it, because I'm just like, the recording's already there. If I'm going to re-record it, it's going to be when I actually go into somebody's like studio and not
high
just
quality.
Me in the basement.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, well, maybe as time passes, it's like since you overgrew the emotion that you had in order to make that song, you just let go of it. Maybe when you do listen to it, you no longer connect with your song because you're just past that state of being or state of thought. So you're like, whatever. Maybe I felt that way in the past, but yeah, now I just like you can tear it all apart. You can look at it again, just super objectively.
Yeah.
So maybe you need it to happen the way it happened, so you can get past it. But yeah, I get you. And just even with time, because I've went back, I just reorganized my whole YouTube and made it look approachable, right? So you can like if you go into the playlist, like everything's just clean. Oh, music. Oh, like things from my travels, and I have a cat one. I have just like five cat videos where right after my little kitty gave birth to her litter. So like every day I was just recording those little freaking munchkins. They're so delicious. And just random stuff like that, right? Music and art and all that stuff. And I look through some of my older music recordings, and I'm listening and I'm like singing along quietly while I'm listening to myself sing, and I just realized like I would do the inflection so much different back then than now. I'm like, I could have sworn I always sang it like this, but there's that, and like I focus on maybe here instead of here, and then even just a few months ago, I'm sitting there and just singing like the Book of Love. Love that song, and then I'm singing along, and it's just so different. I'm like, wow, like you really do change.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with it because some of the original songs too that were more maybe clunky or not as what's a good word? Just can't get it. The word's not coming. just me and the song being one together,
Copacetic?
Yes, yeah, just copacetic. It wasn't there, and then I was kind of singing through the words when I just took some time to just put it aside for a while and let it steep and forget how I really wanted for it to be. When I came back to it, I kind of just like, I think it was something like this. And then from having to scramble for it, I found a sound that I could connect with again. So then when I'm singing it, it's like I'm singing one of my favorite songs that I've been singing for however long, and now that's just my own song. So I've gotten to a point where a few of my songs that I wrote that I thought back in the day were not so much poetic or not rhythmic enough, and then now I'm just like, I like that song. I really do. And then that's why I'm sitting right now, and then I just wrote another song, and I'm so proud of it, like so proud of it.
Yeah.
Like the transitions, the guitar part, dude, super proud of it because I'm going in between like 3 scales, right? And I'm going back and forth, and I got a lot of emotion in the guitar itself. Which before this, I was just like, okay, let's take 4 chords, put them in a cycle, and for the chorus, just like transition something, just a little small thing, and then go back to the normal. So it's just like 2 real guitar parts. And now I literally just captured a story with the guitar. you know, just like starting out cool, just like you know, just in the middle, nothing bad, nothing good. And you just like start there, and then you have a little bit brighter, but then it dips down for just a small second, and brighter, a little dips down, and then it goes into like a something completely different for a while, and then it goes to something similar, something familiar, but not necessarily the same, and then it plummets, right? And then after the plummet, it goes back to something that reminds you of home, but it's just a little bit different, and then speeds up to the point of just like collapsing, and then you return back home to the very first guitar part, and you'll finish it out by ending it on a major major note. So it's like just completing the cycle, right? Because I've been holding like the home part away from the whole time, and now I'm bringing it in and finishing it, and just like even to finish it, I'm going with like a freaking what's that thing called when you just like,
harmonic?
Yes, finish on a harmonic and then bam, and it's and I wrote that and I was like, wow, I feel super proud of that. And then the lyrics I added to it, and they turned out very good in my opinion, because I started with English, and I added like a Russian verse too, which was
nice.
like where you went into the different world, and then came back to English, and it was, you know, and everything's nice. The words are nice. It drives copacetically again, but now I'm sitting in a place where like the vocal melody, I'm just stuck on that because I'm singing like it just very nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. So now I'm sitting in the same place. It's like, this is so good, but I hate it. So I think now I just need to forget about it for a little bit and then come back to it and then see how it gets clumped together on, you know, when I'm not like so stressed about it, because you can get so lost just trying to make something perfect that you just completely forget about everything you care about. Oh man. So before we went on that really long side road, you were 14 and you're playing on a top string.
Oh, right, yeah. So wow, that was how this started, wasn't it? So I decided to teach myself some chords, and I feel like we bought a poster that had like a chord sheet on it, because me and my older brother started learning at the same time, and we were doing it basically the same way. Just like, we're just going to teach ourselves, we're going to lock ourselves in the room with a little bit with the guitar, and just like do what we can. And I want to say that was like that summer, and then that Christmas, we actually got like a guitar for Christmas, and then we're like, that's cool, we have like a new guitar. There's two of us though. So we were immediately just like, okay, get the wheels turning. Like, any Christmas money we get, we're getting another guitar. And so we did that, and then we both had our guitars, and then we were able to just like practice whenever we wanted, because we had our own thing. We could just like take it wherever we wanted with us, and that was like the best thing. I feel like, just being able to have the freedom to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted with it, so I could literally just lock myself in my room all day long and just play until my fingers just hurt. And just had the weird little like grooves just in them, because oh my god, attempting to get calluses is the worst thing. I still actually don't have calluses. I don't know how people like keep them up. Maybe it's also because I use such a light gauge of string on my acoustics that like you don't really need them to play, because they just press down so easily.
That's nice.
So whenever I pick up anybody else's guitar and it's like, oh yeah, I've got 12s on that, it's like, this feels terrible. I hate it. Like, I'm using 10s on my acoustic. Every time I say that, people are just like, what? Why would you do that though? It's like, because they're just extra light. They just feel good, and you can just play it all day long, and it doesn't really hurt. But yeah, so we got our own guitars, and then we decided like, we're gonna be a band.
You and your brother?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then our uncle ended up getting roped into that for a while as well. Problem with this band idea was that as we were doing it, we both had drastically different ideas of what kind of band we wanted to be, because I was listening to stuff like Dave Matthews Band,
Mm-hmm.
and I think at that point I'd started listening to Radiohead a little bit, and I was listening to a bunch of like Peter Gabriel, and those were like really my top 3
Mm-hmm.
that I would listen to all the time. My brother was listening to stuff like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and it's like those are not the same kind of bands at all. And we made it work for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We're just like, we'll just do a trade-off thing. Like, I'll have my Dave Matthews-y songs. He'll have his, like, Pearl Jam, Nirvana-y songs. And we'll just do, like, whatever when we're trading off. Like, I'm just playing rhythm over here anyway. You do what you need to do on your thing there, so that was fine. And we ended up going into a studio and, like, recording. It's like an album of our original stuff. And I was probably, like, 16 when we did that. And oh my, it's hilarious to listen to, because it's like, wow, when you're 16 and you're writing stuff, you think it's like the deepest shit.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'm 16, I know about the world. And it's like, nah, dude, you don't. So listening to it, like, even just a couple years later, it's like, man, songs are not good.
I need to hear this. I want to hear this so bad.
I have a copy of it somewhere. You'll hear it.
Cool. If anything, just post it on YouTube, and then if you don't want to share with everybody else, just set it on private and invite me to the link. Because I truly don't have a CD player anywhere in my life, anywhere.
That's fair. So, and the whole recording of the thing was like such a mad dash to just get stuff done. There are like some really bad takes in there that really shouldn't have been, that we should have taken the time to just be like, let's do it again, let's just run through it again, we'll re-record it. But we're operating under the mentality of good enough, to the point that literally what we titled the album, just good enough.
That's what it's called?
That's what it's called.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
So, obviously, going into it, you're just like, not expecting top-tier shit when I pop this in. And
that's funny.
Yeah, it's like, it's really cringy for me to listen to now, just because of the songwriting. But
I feel you.
Yeah, and that, of course, leads into the stuff from my past. And, like, it's like, I hate this song now. I don't know why I liked this song when I wrote it.
Maybe 16-year-olds.
16-year-old me thought it was the coolest thing.
Yeah, maybe high school kids will find it one day and they'll just connect to it. He knows what I'm still going through.
Right?
He gets me.
And I think that is why, like, artists like Taylor Swift, I have such a disdain for, because it's like, why are you 16 and writing all of this stuff? Do you really know all that much about the world, actually? I don't think you do. But sure, you go have fun. Like, if you're not hurting anybody, do whatever you want, whatever.
Yeah,
but like
self-expression, and then she's connecting with the younger crowd. That's for sure. So she's doing, whether she knows or not, she's doing something right.
Yeah,
and she'll catch me singing along, just like, yeah. I was like,
oh no.
That's funny.
There's been a couple times I'm just been like, okay, this song's got a little bit of a groove to it. Who is? Hell.
That's funny. So what would you say is like your approach to writing music now? Like, what are you trying to accomplish, and like what are you trying to record? Like, what are you trying to make?
Honestly, as far as like songwriting goes, I really don't know. Because my songwriting, air quotes, process is such an odd thing to me even still, where sometimes it'll be like, I'll come up with the music and be like, oh, I really like this chord progression. Let's try to put lyrics to that. And 9 out of 10 times, the lyrics that I like come out and I put over it are literally nothing. It's just, I thought it sounded good lyrically, so I made a song out of it. Every once in a while, I'll have a song where I'll try to like inject a little bit of myself into it. Like, there was a song I wrote at the beginning of this year, actually, that I really poured, like, a lot of my like anxiety into, and just kind of like let it come out and see what would come out. And I really like that song a lot, and I'm really proud of that song, because I feel like that's something a lot of people can actually connect with. Like, people have anxiety, and everybody's just trying to do their best. So it's kind of but there are times where I'll just have like a lyrical pop into my head and be like, I really like that, I'm gonna latch onto this, and then just kind of like build from there and see what I want to do. And that lyric won't always necessarily be like the first lyric. It might be like in the middle of the second verse. But yeah, and then as far as like genre wise, I kind of go all over the place with stuff that, because I guess not necessarily a problem of kind of wanting to listen to everything, and at the same time I end up wanting to create everything at the same time. But like,
yeah, there's plenty of time in the world. You can.
Yeah,
that's it. And it's like, that's why right now I don't even bother with the genres, because I just say I'm folk. Yeah. Because I finger pick, and that's it. Because then I don't know. Because everybody asks me, it's like, what do you play? It's like, I don't know. You listen to it, you tell me. Yeah. Because it's not our job to classify ourselves. Like, you want to put me in a box? You do that. I'm not going to put me in a box. I'm too free to be in a box.
Yeah. If I had to, I would probably say, like, I'm a indie folk pop, and I hate the fact that, like, the word indie has become a genre now. But basically it's with a very slight emphasis on the folk. The only reason I would put folk in there is because sometimes I play acoustic guitar, and that apparently just means you get lumped in with folk now. But
that's funny.
But yeah, it's like, it's a very,
it doesn't mean anything.
Not really, actually. Like, I like to more say, like, oh, these are bands I listen to that I hear a song from them and it's like, I need to write stuff like that. And so it's still like Radiohead, Peter Gabriel, of Monsters and Men, Bon Iver, like stuff like that I listen to it and it's like, man, I want to do stuff like this. Yeah. I want to do like 7-person bands with like, here's a random horn section that just like doesn't do I'm like super ADD right now.
You should be. This is great.
Yeah, but like, I love the way Bon Iver uses horn sections, where it's not just like, and then here's the saxophone solo, or if it is, it's in such a like abstract, really calming, subtle way. And I love that he uses the horn section almost in the way most people use a string section. I'm just like, here's them doing notes together, and they'll hold those notes, and then they'll change the notes, and there'll be a chord progression to those notes, and it's not just like and I appreciate that so much, because that's what I love out of horn sections. Every time I hear other people do that with horn sections, I'm just like, yes, that I want to do stuff like that. And I feel like people that play those instruments don't necessarily want to do that a lot of the time, unless you get somebody who is like really like-minded like that, who also just happens to play one of those instruments, and like, yeah, let's do this. Just like be really, really subtle with it, and just have it, just let it be the background, filling space, and it's so good.
I completely agree.
I love it so much.
I love Bon Iver. I love his music. He's so good. But that's what it is. Like right now, I'm in the same place where it's, I mean, you try to emulate your idols. That's how you become a better musician. So yeah. They give you the bar, and then you're striving to reach the bar, and then I feel like eventually we'll just, I pray. Eventually you'll just like, something will click, and you're like, oh, this is the very tiny thing that I've been missing that that will allow me to just keep creating, feel good about it, and like actually release, like, be good music. Maybe that little piece that we're missing, or I'm missing, is just the thinking that I'm missing something. Yeah. You know? So I don't know. because it's like I'm sitting there, I'm writing. I love like writing poetry. Like because right now I'm just recording all of my poetry into just typing it up. I'm already at like 40 pages, you know, and I'm not even halfway done. I have like 3 more books to type up. So like I love writing poetry, and I'm giving myself enough freedom to write the poetry. So it's like I don't have to worry about the structure. I just understand it's a full emotional dump almost. You know, what are your emotions? Get them on paper, and you know, try to be descriptive and like, you know, obviously poetic in ways. And it sounds good. Like I'll go back to my poetry, and I'm like, that makes me feel stuff. I'll read it to the class whenever I'm teaching some of the older kids, and then they'll like it, and they'll be like, man, they feel things. But it's like for some reason when it comes to music, maybe I'm just so wrapped up in how I think it should be, and like I'm just putting so much restriction on myself, you know. So it's like I always find myself just, you know, in repetitive loops, right? So it's like I always get like 4x4s, you know, just like 4 bars, and then I'll go to like another like 4 or 2, and then I don't feel like I have that much freedom, and I also always feel like I need to rhyme, and I understand like I don't need to rhyme, but as I'm writing, I feel like I'm just pushing myself into that corner, and I'm like, well, okay, and then that just kind of like solves the anxiety. It's like if I leave it unrhymed, it's gonna feel sucky. Do you do that, or you're like past that? Do you have freedom?
Every once in a while, I'll write a song, and there'll just be like a chunk of lyrics where there'll be like maybe a slant rhyme at best, and I'm just like, oh, that feels weird, but those lyrics just make sense for right there. Or like I'll have a chorusy part, and then like it'll end on a line that literally doesn't rhyme with anything, but it's done. That's it. It's what it is, and I don't need to change it, and I don't feel like I need to change it, and I don't think it needs to rhyme with what was just going on. So I get it. There are like times where I'm just like, this needs to rhyme. What word rhymes with that word so I can make this, but also have it be a coherent sentence when you are singing it, so it's not just like goo goo Kazoo, but then I put on my shoes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. See, that's why I feel like I'll get to a point where I end up just like writing too much, like adding too much, you know, maybe like details or just things that people wouldn't really care about, just so it would rhyme. And I understand this I've understood this for a long time now, and it's not about the music or anything. It's just life, you know. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yeah. And that's just one of the deepest truths out there. So it's like I get that, and I need to apply that to music. If I'm not, but I'm just sitting there. It's like, okay, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I still, you know, finding myself just like writing, and I'll get to a point where like I have a whole page written, and I'm just like, was any of that necessary? You know?
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, okay, I'll just take this into my poetry section and just put it into my poetry stuff, and then I'll just start writing a song again, because I feel like a song has to be just concise, you know, just as less words possible, just impactful words, you know, things that just will penetrate you. And I feel like they should just move scenery, almost like movies are these days, just like 2-second clip, 2-second clip, 2-second clip.
Yeah.
Right. But in a song, that's I feel like that's what it should, or maybe that's what I'm striving for. So it's just like, okay, here's a verse, and then you're like, yeah, that verse, and then you see it, and then you give it a little second, and then here's a verse, and you're like, oh man, that verse, and then sometimes, you know, like two verses will just, or not even a verse, a line, and like 2 lines will combine, and it's like, okay, so that line added to that line, but that second line made it so much more vibrant. But yet I still sit here and like a whole verse, you know, like 4, 5, 6 lines will be about the same thing. And then it'll just I don't know. I'll get through it. I just think I'm just rambling about it now, but it's like, man, it sucks sometimes. Nobody told you being a musician just sucks sometimes, you know? You're like just trying to do so many things, and then you're just like, I wish I was this ethereal god who just like made
these noises come out,
and then people are like, "Oh my god,
that's so good!
It's so good! He must be a god." You're right.
You are
not a human. these things just happen. There it is. It's so good. It's funny. But, yeah.
I feel like with that, like, going back to the idea of, like, music being created by ethereal gods, like, the first time I actually saw the people who were in Portishead playing music live, like, my brain just almost couldn't handle it. It was like, no, those are just regular people. That makes no sense.
What are they pretending to be?
Yeah, it's like, I don't...
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny to me that, like, that was ever an idea in my head. Well, thinking back on it now, it's kind of like, little kids have crazy imaginations. It makes sense that would be a thing.
Mm-hmm. See, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I still think it's a very viable option because, like, you know, I'll listen to the music, and like Lana Del Rey, right?
Yeah.
And there's a few songs that I'd listen to her play or sing, and I would think, man, she's just I feel like she's just like freeballing this whole song. I feel like she's just closing her eyes and she's saying these beautiful things, and then she's like, that was great, and then record it. And then because it's just like a spur of the moment kind of thing, it's really real, and it gets to express, you know, the moment so deeply and so just vibrantly that it becomes just like a hit song. So, you know, there were times where I'll also sit down and I'll be recording, just like, you know, just off the dome kind of things. You know, just sit there, just like, you know, just find a melody, just like la 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 la, and then rhyme things. And at that point, because I am just messing around and not really writing things, I'm giving myself the freedom to not rhyme. You know, just say things that are pertinent at that moment, and then move on when they're done, and not try to just like, ugh, you know, because I'll just move on. So there's not really a structure. And I've always been trying to just find that when I'm writing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So that's life. That's life.
That's what we're dealing with.
So do you have anything to promote?
What
do you want people to find about you? Or, you know, how do they change the world?
Take it one day at a time, man. As far as promoting stuff, I don't know. I think I'm gonna be changing what my YouTube is.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't decided if I'm gonna create like a second channel and then like do this new show on the second channel, or if I want to just like change my current YouTube, because like my current YouTube right now is just like one of the weirdest things, because it's both me just like putting my music on it, and at the same time, like if you look at the playlist, it's obviously just what I'm using to listen to music. So there's just like a ton of playlists of other people's stuff. I'm just like, I like this. Like I literally went through and just created like a giant 50+ song playlist of stuff that I had never heard of before, and like artists I had never heard. And I would just kind of like listen to the song for a little bit and be like, ooh, this is good, on the playlist. So I also, I don't know, you can look me up. I'm Trusty Sea Creatures on everything, basically. On Instagram, which is, I feel like, where I'm the most active. I have a Facebook page that I ignore most of the time because I ignore Facebook most of the time. And then the YouTube channel is also Trusty Sea Creatures. There's a Bandcamp, and then a SoundCloud where I have like all of the demos and stuff that I've recorded. And I put a few songs up there recently that I'm pretty proud of. One of which, the song that I'm like the most excited about right now, is one where I actually wrote it using my little looper. And it's probably my favorite song to like perform, just because I literally get to build the loops and build the song and then just like sing over it, and it's fun as hell. But yeah, that's all I've got right now. I don't have any shows lined up or anything like that. So
Trusty Sea Creatures.
Trusty Sea Creatures.
Trusty Jonathan. Yeah. well, I'll definitely have to do like a follow-up episode just to talk a lot more, because you're an ocean deep of things, you know. It's Trusty Sea Creature. You have a lot of creatures inside of you that I want to release and all the gods inside of you, the
For
musical
sure.
gods. So that'll definitely be something that I'd be looking forward to.
Yeah, and then I want to get you, once I get my show going, I want to get you on an episode of that as well.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I like music appreciation and like finding new music, because I'm sure it'll be something that I haven't heard before, because being foreign and all, I didn't have much of a constant like a musical choice. I know I just listen to like the radio a lot, like Rick and Martin or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, or Enrique Iglesias. And it's like, hey, let's have booty shaking stuff.
There you go. Well, whatever. The idea that we're gonna have is that whenever we bring somebody on, they get to pick the album.
Oh, cool. Okay, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah. So pick whatever you want.
Okay, that'd be cool. That'd be nice. Maybe something. Oh, I know. I'll pick something. Okay, I won't. Okay, fine. It'll be like The Fray or something, like one of their first.
Oh, okay. That's legit.
Albums, because I just rediscovered it myself, and I'm just like, oh yeah. And now I can sing their stuff because I've been actually like practicing and stuff. Yeah. Now I remember I would try to sing it when I was like 10 or 11, and did hit some nice falsettos. I still sometimes just like what, but now I can actually hit the notes and I can sing along and it feels good. I was like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm really cool.
I still to this day really like their second album.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't listened a lot like past that album of them. They had a couple songs I was like, okay, I could get behind this song, but like that second album is really solid. Like the first album had like a few songs, was like, okay, yeah, I can see what you guys are trying to do, but I feel like their second album was very much just like, this is the sound we want to make. We're just gonna write that, and then they made it, and it's like, good for you guys. This is really like a really solid album, whereas the first one I hit and skip through a couple of those songs.
But I get you. It happens. It happens. All right. Well, peace out. Well, what a ride that was. And I'm really happy that I'm getting to keep these podcasts to about an hour, because that way more people can listen to it. It's more manageable, like me and Jonathan were talking about. That some of the podcasts, when they get too long, you seem to be afraid to tackle them on. But, to each his own. And these are getting more manageable. I felt like a ray of sunshine after it was done. And I still do. So I'm happy you guys could tag along for the ride. Enjoy the conversation. Enjoy the laughs. Enjoy the ride. And we'll come in next week with somebody equally as fascinating and equally as beautiful. And I hope you guys enjoy it. All right. Until that day, you guys stay beautiful, stay jovial, and keep on sharing that love, because I love you and you love me, and we're a happy family. Barney, don't sue me for taking that. Goodbye. Peace out. Later.